Hello, hello. It's quite cool this year being able to say this, but one of my favourite bands is back with a new album this week. Rialto Return with the album Neon and Ghost Signs. So this is the third album by those guys, and their debut is one of my favourite albums. And I was trying to sum up how to talk about it. So I thought what I'd do is I'd choose three of my favourite songs from that album. For those of you who don't know who Rialto are, Rialto are a band that formed out of the ashes from a band called Kinky Machine. Lewis Elliott, Johnny Ball and Anthony Christmas. And Kinky Machine released a couple of albums. This one here, self-titled, and the album Bent There. And then they went on to form Rialto. Now, they released this classic self-titled debut that came out in 1998. And to set the kind of scene of what was going on at the time, it's quite interesting because in 1997, Blur released their self-titled album, which a lot of people signify as the end of Britpop. And Pulp, a year later in 1998, released their album This Is Hardcore, which is also an album that signified as the end of Britpop. So Rialto are sandwiched in between these two big albums. And Rialto, I don't think, are a Britpop band. They were much bit, they just got labelled in with that like a lot of bands did, unfortunately, in the day. But they released, this album came out and it was a kind of, I suppose, a more mature sounding album. But the songs that really stood out to me, I mean, I could talk about all of the songs. Before I get into them, honourable mentions to Untouchable and Broken Barbie Doll. But the first song I'm going to start with is a song called The Underdogs. Now, it starts off with this guitar solo on it, which you could imagine on a Glenn Campbell song if it was written by Jimmy Webb. Before it kicks in to like the Walker Brothers-esque, The Sun Ain't Gonna Shine Anymore. And it just builds and builds, and then it's got strings on it. And the strings are quite reminiscent of Wichita Lineman, again by Glenn Campbell. It's such a great song, so powerful. But there's all different sort of things going on this album, because there's another song on there which I really like called Summer's Over. And the introduction to it is a bit like, think Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, before the bass kicks in. And the bass on it is so high in the mix. It's got that kind of vibe of like spaghetti western, think the good, the bad and the ugly type thing going on. And then the song perfectly captures the end of a season at a seaside town. Now, I was an art student in Broadstairs, so I've seen seaside towns close down over winter because I was there for 3 years. And they really just get it perfectly. They're talking about, seagulls coming down, attacking packets of chips that have been left on the side, walking too close to the cliff's edge, to then the mum that's out with her kids. The kids want to go in the arcade. The mums just want to go home. It's also, the song when the chorus kicks in, it's quite reminiscent of Jealous Guy by John Lennon. But it's just a really lovely song, really well produced. And then the last song that I'm going to talk about from this album, and it's the first song that I got into when they came out, is a song called Monday Morning 519. This song, just listening to the lyrics of it, it could be a movie in its own right. It starts off with this like drums kicking in, strings coming in. The way Rialto used strings was just lovely. They really got the best out of them. A lot of bands at the time, especially in the Britpop time, we seem to be sticking strings on everything because it just they sort of thought, if you put strings on a song, it makes it better. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it doesn't really need it. But Rialto really used them to their strength. Really cinematic. So with this song, it kicks in and it's about like a boyfriend and a girlfriend saying goodnight to each other at the end of an evening and then going their separate ways. And then the guy is he's wondering what's happened to her and he's trying to ring her, and you don't know if it's what's gone on in his head or if she has disappeared. The song builds and builds. The actual synth at the beginning of it is quite similar to that kind of thing like you get on the Get Carter soundtrack, but then when it goes into the solo in the middle of it, it's more like the theme from The Persuaders or Randall and Hopkirk Deceased. And then there's like a sound effect of a phone ringing in the background. it's just truly one of my favourite songs ever, and I proper love this band. And like I said, I could talk about all of the songs and you'd be switching off. But I'm really looking forward to the new album. I was lucky enough to go and see the guys in Manchester last year at the Deaf Institute, and they played some tracks off of this album. The lead single, No One Needs a Discotheque Alive, sounds quite reminiscent of Kylie Minogue's Can't Get You Out of My Head. That's something I didn't think I'd be saying. But it's well worth, if you've never heard this album before, do yourself a favour and listen to it, because it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. They did do a second album, which I've got here, which is that one there, which is good. And then also Lewis did a solo album. This one here, The Long Way Round. This album kind of gets more of what Rialto did, and a lot of bands that I like do, where you've got this really happy song going on with quite dark lyrics. Think, well, REM or the Blue Tones, they do that magically as well. Rialto do that especially well, especially on this solo album by him. It deals with like relationships ending and death and stuff like that. But yeah, they're a really great band, Rialto. Can't wait to have them back. Really looking forward to the new album this week. Cheers, guys.